Young and Flourishing Hub, we seek to turn these numbers into an opportunity for Africa to become a global leader. Join us every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. only on Church of Uganda Family TV, as we take you through the discussion of different topics that will enable you to become world-class leaders and mentors, grow your finances, and become world-class innovators. Young and Flourishing, transforming Africa.
Know their journey with self-skilling, the importance of self-skilling as we talk about the art of self-skilling. Thank you for coming. You're very welcome. You can say something to the guest, your name, what you do.
Thank you, Doreen. Good evening, viewers. My name is Sarah Munezero. I am a certified public accountant, CPA, Uganda. I also hold a master's in business administration. And outside the accounting world, I am a managing director for a company called Tranquil Royalty Group, #TRG. It deals in fashion and design, events planning and management, and hairstyling. Yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you, Sarah, for being here.
You're welcome.
Moses.
Good evening, viewers. Thank you very much, Doreen, for having me here. My name is Moses Surumar. I am a financial analyst. I'm a graduate of Towson University from Baltimore, Maryland, in the United States. Aside from that, I am a musician. I am I'm a chef. I am an educator. I am a coach. I wear very many hats, but I think first and foremost, I'm a financial analyst. I'm very glad to be here.
Thank you for making the time.
Absolutely.
So both of you are here especially because in the area of self-skilling, taking that initiative to skill up and always be a step ahead, probably, from your peers. What is self-skilling, Sarah?
Well, self-skilling is basically the art of teaching yourself to do something, not necessarily going to class to study it or to get a teacher to take you through it, but having that determination to basically teach yourself to do something that you'd want to do.
Yes.
That's the basic that I would explain it as.
Moses, do you share the same definition?
Absolutely. Self-skilling is basically filling that gap that education doesn't fill for you. You can learn as much as you can learn from a textbook, from a lecturer, but there's always a gap. There's always something more that you can learn, and self-skilling is that art of taking that extra mile by yourself to learn these things for yourself.
Okay. So if someone wants to do something with their lives, maybe they feel like, you know what, I've been on this roundabout. Yes, I have all the books, but perhaps I'm not making any movement, any headway in my career, in my business, in my personal life. Where would you advise them to start, Moses?
Well, I think the most important thing is to, first of all, discover where that gap is. Because, like we said, the textbook can teach you so much, the classroom can teach you so much, but then you have to, for yourself, discover where that gap is, where that gap of knowledge is, and then start there. If there's something that maybe your company is not offering, and maybe that your organization is not doing that, that's where you can step in and say, you know what, let me take that time out for myself and discover these things and then add value to my company or my organization through self-skilling.
Okay. And Sarah, anything more to that?
Well, I agree with him. The other thing I would add is the passion. Discover the gap, but also, is it something that you're actually passionate about and that you would want to do? Sometimes we go to school and we end up doing things that we probably are not interested in, but just because these are the points you've gotten, then let me join campus, do this course, but it's not what you exactly wanted to do. So after campus, now what next? What is it that you desire, or what is it that you would want to be other than what you have studied in school? Or if what you studied in school is what you want to do, there are also different things under the different courses that we study. Like, what is it that you'd want to actually specialize in, and what are you passionate about? So for me, I think it's about the gap and the passion and the zeal to actually close that gap.
So passion plays a key role as you're discovering something.
Yes, very key.
Tony Robbins once said, repetition is the master of all skills. What do you think he meant by that, Moses?
Certainly, in my own experience as a musician, learning the keyboard, certainly I'm not the same keyboard player I was today as a 24-year-old as I was when I was about 7 to 8 years old starting out. And it's not because I had any teacher teaching me, it's not because I had any sort of grand education in it. It was basically just going at it every day, and just building from where I left off the last time. So it's about not being so caught up in the level you are, but being focused on just building on it, and then repeating. When you repeat it, you find that you build on it, and you find that you, like I said, I'm not the same keyboard player 24-year-old as I was as an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
So you definitely, as you repeat it, you definitely add more and more and more and more.
It's interesting that you're actually 24 years, and from the introduction, the hats were just heart.
I know.
Heart. You can almost say maybe 28, maybe 30s.
Yes.
So did you have to go to school to learn a keyboard, or the chafing, or, all the different hats you talked about in your introduction?
No, actually, the only thing that I went to school for was to be a financial analyst, and that's actually the least of the. I would say it's the smallest hat that I would wear. I had a big challenge when the producer was asking me what to put as my profession. I was wondering, well, do I put a coach? Do I put an analyst? Do I put? But the only thing that I actually went to school for was to be a financial analyst. But the rest were all, self-taught, self-skilled.
Wow. So in what areas do you coach?
I'm a soccer coach.
Aha. Oh.
Yes.
You're really a man of many hats. A soccer coach. Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. What do you think Tony Robbins meant? And anyway, is repetition important?
Very, very important. I would share from my experience. So one of the things that I've taught myself, I tried to go to school for it, not to school, to someone who does it to learn, but the time was limiting. And one of those things is tailoring. So after I think the first lockdown, I sat down and spoke to myself and decided to get a tailoring machine to just have at home and practice. And I made YouTube my friend. And decided to practice on my little nieces that were home. And one time, a friend of mine believed in me and gave me money to actually make for them a dress. So I went downtown, bought the material, and came with all the excitement to actually cut and start the stitching. So in tailoring, once you make a mistake in how you cut the piece, the fabric, it's done. It's so hard to correct that mistake. So she actually wanted a higher neck line, and unfortunately I cut slightly a lower neck, and I knew she was not going to be happy. Much as she was my friend, but I didn't want to take it for granted that she's my friend. I looked at it and I said, oh my God, I have messed up. I didn't tell anyone. I got money, went downtown, bought another fabric, came and cut the right thing. I delivered the dress, and she was extremely happy. If she's watching, she probably will hear this story and know, but I've done now a number of them, so I'm not sure she will know who she is. But the very dress where I had made a mistake, I said, well, I won't let this material go to waste. Good enough, it was almost my size. So I actually got another fabric, like a chiteji, because the one was plain, and added onto the top. And it came out beautifully, and it also happened to fit my sister, and I actually gave it to her, and she liked it. But if I hadn't tried to repeat, there's no way I was going to master the upper neck, tailoring, all that stitching, or anything. So repetition is very, very key, especially things of skill that you are doing over and over again. I think it's one of the ways to actually get yourself better and improve on a skill. Yes. I can't sit down there and say, now I have mastered, I know all the basics about tailoring, I know all the designs about tailoring. No. I also do hairstyling, and every time I'm trying to do a hairstyle, usually it doesn't come like on the first go, you know.
Yes.
There is a time I was working on a bride and there's something she wanted. She didn't notice, but for me, I felt it wasn't coming out. And within me, I was saying, God, why isn't this coming out the same? I tried and hustled for like a whole 30 minutes and it wasn't just making sense. I undid, repeated, and it was just perfect, the final look. So without repeating, I don't think we would get better.
There's sometimes people say, for example, I've had this with the people who tie gomises.
Yeah.
Like once you don't get it the first time, and you keep trying, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So sometimes someone may feel like, you know what, first of all, even repetition is boring. Also, what if I keep repeating and it just doesn't work? So what then? What would you tell them? Like, what should they do?
Well, in the first place, if you are not persistent and determined, there is no way you will grow. I think it's a basic in everything that we do in life. Even in my world of accounting, where I have gone to school and studied, I did a bachelor's degree in accounting, I did CPA, that's accounting, I did an MBA and mastered in finance and accounting. There is no time I will be there and say I am content, I know it all. There are times it's just something basic and I have to refer back and say, oh, how do they pass this entry again?
Yeah.
So without the persistence and determination, for me, I think there is no way we would actually get better. I mean, in the tailoring world, there are times I go home and I'm determined to stitch this and be done by 11 p.m. But it gets to 11 p.m. and there is an error, or maybe there is a stitch that is not coming out like I want. I will sit up to 1 a.m. Exactly. I will go to bed at 1 a.m., 2 a.m., but when I feel content with what I have actually done.
Well, if you're just joining us, I'm DOREEN Buchanan and this is Flourishing Hub. So Flourishing Hub is a show centered around empowering young people to be the best version of themselves. We do this through the different conversations we have. We invite our guests who, say a thing or two, and we hope one day someone out there will have a testimony that their life changed as a result of this show. And before we broke off, you said, there was a quotable quote: if you're not persistent with what you do, you want to grow. By Sarah Munezero. Not every time Tony Robbins, Mahatma Gandhi, Barack Obama, guys, even us. Yes. So thank you, Sarah. Moses, what is the importance of self-skilling?
Well, I think self-skilling is approached primarily from two approaches, from profit and from necessity.
Okay.
Most people approach it through necessity. In this economy where things are so hard and jobs are really scarce, I think most people look at self-skilling as a means of getting income away from a regular job. But I would encourage people to see self-skilling from the view of necessity. Look for where the need is, like I said earlier, and feel that need. The importance of self-skilling is that you're able to equip yourself with the expertise to change the community around you, I would say.
Okay. Necessity, you mentioned necessity.
Yes.
What was the other?
Profit.
Profits.
Yes, please.
Okay. Sarah, what are some of the importances of self-skilling? What have you benefited, first of all, from you learning how to do hair and makeup and clothes?
I think the first and the inmost is self-satisfaction. There is a joy that I get, that I feel when I do something with my hands and see it come to pass. Like, if you need to see my excitement when I receive a text message of, hello Sarah, I am getting married on this date and date, and I'm inquiring about your services about hair and makeup, or I need a changing dress or what, and I'm thinking, oh. So there is a joy that I can actually be able to produce something. There's a time a friend of mine told me that when people are rushing to the shops to look for things to wear and what, you're there actually producing what yourself are going to wear. Because I rehearsed on my nieces and myself. But then again, like you also said, necessity. Where is the gap and how can you fill it? I think we went through a whole season where ladies, we were in a season where a number of ladies did not accept that you can actually look beautiful when you wear your own natural hair, for example, like at a wedding.
Yeah.
There was a season some time back. It's now that we have embraced the natural hair, but people would would want to treat their hair because their wedding is coming soon, and you find you're cutting off after the wedding because you now don't like that. Yes, you want to go back. And I realized that now the trend is kind of gone. There are a number of people with natural hair. Even just to attend a party, people actually want to have their hair styled. And because somehow I'd wake up and hold my hair and people tell me it's nice and it's this, I said, well, how about I look into this? But it's actually a friend of mine that pushed me to do it, the hairstyling thing. Yeah, so I think the necessity and the gap, where is it so that it can be filled?
So if you're just joining us, this is Flourishing Hub. We've been talking about the art of self-skilling, and right before I came in, they were talking about the importance of self-skilling. So if you're watching us, just understand that one, necessity, like identify the gap in your community and see how you can fill it. I know that anytime you solve a problem, you're bound to profit out of it. They also mentioned profit. You're definitely going to make money. I'm sure you're making money from what you're doing. You're making money from, all the different hats you wear, and also self-satisfaction, that inner joy that comes with, you know what, I've actually done something, and people are recommending me to their friends. So just explore self-skilling and just ask yourself, how can I better the community? How can I better my life? How can I better my family? And that will lead you to, to the different questions you can answer. Yeah. And so wait, in this era of, this 21st century, Moses, what are some of the gaps you see in our communities? And I know right now, there is obviously globalization. Like you can be here and you're like working, international. So the world has become big. Yes. As a man who has who has explored different things,
Yes.
what are the major skills a young person should equip themselves to have an added advantage in the
Well, that's a good question. I don't think that there is a certain, there's like a sort of a list of skills that one should aim to have. I think it depends on, first of all, what your passion is, and it depends on what the industry you're working in is. One may, so for example, if you're working in a bank, you're working as an analyst, as I was, there are certain skills like that won't be immediately advertised in the job description, but skills like learning how to use Excel to the highest level, skills on learning how to multitask. For example, if you're a chef, and some of them are actually transferable. For example, if you're working as a banker, you have to be able to multitask very, very quickly. Same thing if you're working as a chef, you have to be able to multitask very quickly. You might have something cooking here, something cooking there, something there, something there, and same thing in a bank. You may have someone from this office calling you, from legal, from compliance, from accounts and everything. So it basically depends on the industry you're in, and basically knowing what skills are called for and discovering what is not specifically in the job description but is needed, that you can then go and then equip yourself with.
I'm always humbled with the story of, for example, typewriters. All those days. Those days, eh?
Yes.
Like our grandparents. If you can, you were like they were probably, you were the mayor of that Tundu, yeah? But such skills are obsolete today.
Yeah.
For example, now if we look at companies like maybe Kodak, that didn't transition as smartphones were coming in and whatnot. I'm thinking, so this is what I'm basing on as I ask this question. And perhaps we can revisit the question after the break. So that's, like, I'm looking at the times have changed. Where is that? Where are the hotspots? For example, is it tech? You know, like where are some of the hotspots that you feel like any young person today, you know, at least the bare minimum, you should have communication skills, you should have ABCD if they are there. So let's take a short break, and when we come back, we shall explore more on the different skills you need to have today in this generation so that you can have an added advantage at work, in your community, and in the big world we live in today.
With 200 million people aged between 15 and 24, Africa has the youngest population in the world. This can either be an opportunity or a ticking time bomb. At Young and Flourishing Hub, we seek to turn these numbers into an opportunity for Africa to become a global leader. Join us every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. only on Church of Uganda Family TV, as we take you through the discussion of different topics that will enable you to become world-class leaders and mentors, grow your finances, and become world-class innovators. Young and Flourishing, transforming Africa.
Thank you for staying here, learning and growing. We hope you can have a testimony one day as a result of Flourishing Hub. Also, I'm aware that most of you actually did some skilling during the lockdown. We had to improvise, we had to think of, outside the box. Feel free to go on our social media platforms on Church of Uganda Family TV or Flourishing Hub, and let us know, give us your story, let us know, you just never know who it can bless. So right before we went for a break, I had just asked them if there are any specific skills a young person today must have, that are must-haves, be soft or hard skills, in what, where should we put lots of our focus in, especially if we are to have an added competitive advantage over those, around us, and some people who are a bit, many steps ahead. And Sarah, you were going to say something on that.
Thank you. Just to add on what he said, it's so hard to list and say this, but there are some basic things today. I think technology is taking us to places. Personally, the styling of hair, I actually have not gone to any school.
Nice hair, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I haven't gone to any school to learn, but YouTube has been my teacher. And I mean, without embracing technology to do some of these things, we saw in lockdown, we started attending church online. Like, who knew? Who had ever imagined? All my life I knew that going to church is going to a building, and but I mean, we embraced. So I think technology is one of those things that we need to embrace. And then also interpersonal
skills.
Yes, interpersonal skills. I think we are in an era where a number of young people do not mind how they talk to who they talk to. Sometimes we take it for granted. You find someone like an elderly and you're saying, hey guy.
And they guys.
They're guys, but there's a better way to address such old people, you get it? So it will be hard for someone to actually give you business if you do not, at least like the bare minimum, at least address people like the right way, or that humility you get. And I would give an example about this. I also do events planning and management, but I've also been involved in a number of weddings for my friends. They usually ask me to help out here and here. And recently, some friends of mine were getting married, and the decorator knew her work. She was good. She did the work like they wanted. But her way of communicating and talking to people, I think like 90% of the community said they cannot recommend her for any business anywhere. Just because of how she spoke, just like a bare question of, so would you like to take us through what you're actually going to do? And she says, no, I'll do it, and I don't have time. that kind of attitude, you get. So I am very sure that probably 1 or 2 people out of a committee of like 8, 10 people would probably recommend, basing on the work that she did. But her attitude, and more so when someone has actually paid their money 100%, and you know, you're speaking like that, it's just not right. So I think those are some of the few things. Technology, communication, interpersonal, they are just a requirement, like in how you're actually going to earn yourself business. Yes.
Yeah. I think we actually underestimate the power of interpersonal skills. Like it's because of, like when you have good interpersonal skills, you can go places. You know, like now you can't recommend that person. And now me, I feel curious. I don't know her name. So I never consider her.
No, I will not name and shame here.
Like later, Mukamu. Yeah?
Back door.
Back door. Yes. So, Moses.
Yes, please.
Does parenting have a role to play in someone's attitude towards their initiative towards self-skilling?
I would say in my own experience, I think that question is most relevant to me as a keyboard player and as a worship leader. When I was when I was very young, about I would say 8 years old, you know, my parents discovered that I could play the keyboard, and that was based on my own, you know, practicing and, you know, just sort of having a natural gift in playing the keyboard. And my parents took me to this local church that was at home, I mean near home. And as an 8-year-old, you know, I'd been to big churches like, you know, KPC, which is Watoto Church now. I'd been to Miracle Center and so on and so forth. And I always asked my parents, I was like, Dad, why are we going to this small church where there was no, you know, the small instruments, there was no big screens, there was no big choir, there was no big everything. I was like, you know, why are we going here? And he told me that, Musa, this is the place where you can make an impact. And I remember him introducing me to the worship leader then and saying that this young man can play the keyboard. And there was no keyboard player then. There was actually no keyboard. So at 8 years old, my father would make sure that I carried my keyboard at around, it was like 7 a.m. actually 5 p.m. on Saturday for practice, and then around 7 a.m. for, you know, the church service. And I would actually carry my own keyboard to the church and then set it up and then play it for them. And at 8 years old, my mom loves telling the story that I was so young that, you know, sometimes when I would see my friends playing outside, I would just leave the keyboard and go and play with them. But definitely, they had a very strong influence in making sure that I was there every Saturday and every Sunday, just, you know, doing what I did. And like that, I also grew in knowing how to play other instruments, knowing how to play with others in a band, knowing how to actually lead worship, and so on and so forth. And that wouldn't have happened if they hadn't been consistently pushing me to be there every single time.
Yeah. Sarah, have you had anyone who, you know, who played that role of having to push you to do something?
Oh yes. From my parents, I think what I pick is the hardworking bit. I am born in a family of a clergyman. My father is clergy. He's actually a retired bishop. And my mother was a teacher, but then later also crossed and started working with the church. And somehow along the way, both of them at some point were not really working, but I saw them work really hard to make sure that we, the children, get educated. And I think that's where I picked the bit of being hardworking. But if I would share my story about how I started styling hair,
yes,
it's amazing. Well, I would always do my hair, and somehow people would like and say, who did that? And it's like, oh, I did it myself. For me, it was kind of normal. I had a gift that I think I wasn't just realizing that I need to actually give out. So I think last year, Yes, last year, a friend of mine was getting married. She's really those close friends, and she's like a sister. And in January, she had her kuchala in Rukunjiri. And she decided to do her hair from here. I was like her matron for the kuchala. So we were going to travel on a Thursday, and the function was Saturday. So we decided to go to a salon here in Kampala to style our hair so that we go when it's actually good, and we don't have to hustle with the salons in the village.
Yes.
Now, she had seen someone who had posted hair on Facebook, I think, and she liked their work. And she was staying, my friend was staying in Sasa, Namgongo. The person who was doing the hair was in Buziga. On Wednesday, she drove from Sasa to Buziga to go and do her hair. When she reached there, they washed, she said it was okay, and then the lady styled. She showed her what she wanted. She didn't like. I think she asked her to repeat, and she did, but still what came out she didn't like. Now me, I'd also gone to a different salon here. So while I'm in the salon, she calls me and says, I've finished, I'm leaving now. And I asked her, you don't sound, she said, I don't like what they've done. Be very ready to redo my hair. And I'm thinking, me? Do hair for a bride? How? And you have driven from Sasa to Buziga, and you've not actually gotten the services that you wanted? Like, how frustrating can it get? So I told her, I don't think I will do that. Then we left, we traveled. She still wasn't happy with the hair. So on Friday evening, we did a sample. We removed the other because she insisted she wasn't going to do. And I did, and she actually liked what came out. So Saturday is what we did, and it's what we used. Thank you. That's how my journey started. But still, in my head, I was ready to work on just ordinary, wedding guests, my friends going here and there. I was underestimating what I can do. Yes. So that was January for her kuchala, and then July her wedding comes, and I get for a hairstylist, and she says, no, I think I want you to do my hair. Then I told her, but you see, so I convinced her. At some point we had agreed on a hairstylist. Then lockdown happened, and she told me, there is no one else who's doing my hair. It is you. I refused. She insisted. I did for her kuinjira, which was on Thursday, and then her wedding was on Saturday. She was the first bride that I had, and she loved the outcome. And that's how my journey started. If she had not pushed me, I don't think I would have had the confidence to actually work on brides. I would still be withholding up to now. And as of now, I think I've worked on about maybe 5 or 6 brides from like last year. So I know she's watching. Rachel, thank you for pushing me to the extreme to actually get that skill out of me. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think those around us actually have so much power.
Yes, they do.
In how we may turn out. If someone tells you, they downplay what you bring to the table, I think it also affects your confidence.
That's so true.
You may not have ever styled hair again.
That's very true.
Said, but just because you believed in you, should dare to believe in you. So if you're watching us today, if believe in someone, let them know. Also let them know what they're good at. Tell them. Okay, so I did my own hair. Clearly, I have a journey. but just like believe in someone. Let them know. Don't just keep quiet. They usually say dead noses smell no roses. So if you don't tell someone what they are good at now, when they are dead, just story. It won't have as an impact as it would when they are still there. Ezra, what impact has self-skilling, as a person who has self-skilled in so many areas, what impact has it had on the people around you and your community?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I'd say first and foremost, in the body of Christ, it has had a huge impact because, like I said, starting from 8 years old, I was in church volunteering as a keyboard player. And even when I moved to the United States, I think I was about 10 years old, I was immediately picked up by another church which also lacked a keyboard player, lacked a worship leader. And I was able to fill that gap. And more to that, even when we were trying to expand the church, I remember one particular example. I was very close with a pastor, were actually very close friends. And I remember we were trying to expand the church, and we had a carpenter who was working with us, and the pastor ran out of money, and the carpenter walked out on us because we couldn't pay him. And I remember telling the pastor, we were remaining with just the stage to fix, and I told the pastor, why don't we get this wood? We measure it ourselves, we cut it ourselves, and you know, fix the stage. And the pastor was like, you know what, let's do it ourselves.
Yes.
So he always tells the story about how me and him finished the church by ourselves. So that's another form of self-skilling. Also,
Yes.
Another example is, you know, cutting hair. It's interesting that you also do hair. There was a time when, also in the States, cutting hair was getting so expensive for me and my brothers, and my dad just bought a machine. And he wanted to cut our hair, and we said, you know what, Dad, you're good at many things, but you leave us. And you know what, slowly by slowly, I learned how to cut my own hair, and not only that, I also started cutting my brother's hair as well, and also my friends at school who I was you know, going to school with, and they were saving so much money by me teaching myself for that skill. And it's the same with cooking. It's the same with coaching. It's you know, everywhere that I've been able to make a really positive impact based on the skills that I've taught myself.
What pushed you into coaching? Were you one of those people who would be here like, no man, you should have done this, you should have, who are very good footballers outside, you know? What pushed you?
Well, I have a natural affinity towards being an educator and being someone who inspires people and beings. I also really loved football. So I guess that's really having the love for the game, and also having a love for inspiring people, for encouraging people, and you know, teaching people really drove me to really dive into coaching and, you know, find out. And I found that I was actually pretty good at it.
I'm now curious about the cooking. How did we get to become chefs?
It started at a very young age as well.
Especially as a man, as a guy.
Yes. It started at a very young age because my brothers all went to boarding school, and I was the only one left at home in day school. So I would usually come home, and my dad would be at work in the office, and my mom would be, you know, should be attending to her school. And there were some times when it's not like I would go home and not find food, but there were some times when, you know, the food that was there just didn't appeal to me. So I started to experiment with a number of things, you know, putting this together, putting that together, joining this together, and then slowly by slowly I started baking, making cakes, making muffins, brownies, and all sorts of things. Sometimes they would fail, sometimes they would work, and, you know, I would just pick up on what worked and build from that. And then I you know, realized that I just really loved experimenting with different flavors and, you know, putting things together like that. Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. Please do invite us.
Sure.
Make us a meal.
Very much.
Sarah,
Yes,
so he's passionate, like he enjoys teaching. Do you see yourself, you know, teaching, you know, other people, maybe your young siblings, if you have? Do you have some?
Yeah, I have only one young sibling. Yeah.
So do you see yourself, you know, expanding, you know, your talents of tailoring, of hair?
Absolutely. Yeah. That is like my dream. I would want some few years from now to be established in a place where I have maybe set up like a fashion and design house, something like that, and gotten people that I have taught the skill, and to also help them earn by being employees of the company. Naturally, I love helping and reaching out to people. I told you that I'm usually involved in a number of events because of I give my all when I'm in it. If someone actually asks me to be on their committee and I know that I'm not going to be available, I say no. But once I say yes, then I will be in it with both feet, not one here and one the other. And because of that, that's how I got to know that actually I can do events planning and management. And I have helped a number of friends that are struggling, probably cut down on budgets or connect to good service providers. Because of the bit of loving to help, I also somehow get connections of the different service providers, and when I'm doing the planning and the management, I kind of help people to actually get the best service providers that they can have for like functions. So I remember one time a friend of mine had a wedding, and lockdown happened. Just the first lockdown happened when they had already planned their wedding, and those people were badly affected because it was the first time we're experiencing something like that. So he had already asked me to be the chairperson for his organizing committee. And when lockdown hit and we're trying to cut numbers and everything, I was the chair, I was the treasurer, I was the planner, I was the secretary. We had our online meetings, just the couple, you know, the couple and I, you know, to plan and what. And after their event, he's good with graphics. He told me when he was actually leaving for honeymoon, and I sent him a message of the balance that I have and what. And I remember I sent him an Excel sheet of collections, what we said, and then he told me, wait, Sarah, you even do Excel sheets for just wedding things? You know what? I've given you an offer. Think of your company name. When I come back, I'm doing your graphics for free, because there is, you know, no way you can be wasting that skill, because for me, I know how much you have helped me. So I kind of have gotten favors because of what I do, but I also love teaching and passing on to others and extending the helping hand. So it's not something I want to sit with, you know. I would want to be there and I have 10 orders for dresses and I'm able to deliver them in a day because I have the labor. But now when I'm just one, that's quite hard. There are times someone asks me, I need this urgent, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I am not able because of the time. So yeah, I look forward to impacting and employing people and making sure they get the skill.
Okay.
Yeah.
Moses, in what areas, in all the hats you wear, where would you say you're most passionate?
Definitely music.
Music.
Definitely music.
Do you want to sample us like?
I know it.
Maybe not now. Maybe not now. But yeah, certainly.
Yes.
I hope to maybe join a church here soon, and yeah, you'll definitely be able to see me do what I do.
They've refused, guys. I've tried. I tried. So, Sarah, how can I? You know, I think so many people don't actually know what they're passionate about. It's like we go through school. You know, you have to study from Monday to Friday. Baby class, you know, primary, secondary, like there's just all these systems we have to go through that we rarely pause and actually just, you know, go through a self-discovery process where we get to know what we love, what we like. What would you say to tell someone who is watching, you know, what are some of the steps, if any, can they take so that, you know, to know themselves better?
Oh. Well, it's quite complex. For some people it's easy, for others it's not.
Some people are just born with a voice. For others have to eat bananas.
I know. I know. By the way, he said he's a chef. I love cooking, and it's one thing that I would also, I think, do for business, but sometimes you think of things that you'd actually do and probably get overwhelmed. But it's one thing that I would want to also do in the future. And I know for a fact that I am a good cook I am not a certified chef, but I'm a good cook. But now for the cooking, while I was in school, the school I was in, they were teaching home economics. And I think in my S2, yes, we had to drop subjects. And I remember I just had that zeal to learn home economics. But then my mom used to bake back then when we were little, I would remember. So I had that whole thought of, how is this done, how is this done? So like the cooking and being the chef and what, it's somehow through school. But home economics, I mean, they were just basic. But because of wanting to know more, like you said, you mix this, you mix that, I kind of would also start the same. What do I do? What do I do this? Yeah. And if we are home and we're probably hosting people or what, like we never think of let's outsource someone to do the cooking or what. And people home know that even if it's 20 or 30 people, Sarah can actually cook alone. Yeah. And the different dishes.
Even the color.
Yes, I will mingle and it will be well. So like that, I would say I discovered as I was going through school, because I remember in S3, our home economics teacher had to go away, and she said, as long as I have Sarah, the cakes will be properly baked. Oh, wow. They will also be properly decorated. Now it's funny, I had dropped fine art, but I remember my teacher of fine art would look for me to write on certificates for calligraphy, because also the cakes I would actually write well. Yeah. So I think while I grew up, and then when I get to HSC, I take on PM and what, then I get to campus and end up in accounting and what. But deep within me, I think there was that thing telling me, your hands are gifted. There is something you can do, there is something you can do. Because how was I able to do nice calligraphy without even really doing fine art and everything? So I kind of took it up from there. But now if you ask me about hair, like I shared, I would just do, and me, I did not know that I actually had the gifting to make money out of hair. Because had I known, I would have actually probably started a long time ago. But for me, I took it for granted that I'm a girl, this is something any girl can do. But now you meet people like my friends and they tell you the best I can do is hold a puff. Yeah. Like, babe, please help me with something. DOREEN, I should give you a free offer, a free hairdo after this, yes, one of these days. Done. Yes, so discovering a skill within you, sometimes it probably could be through what you've learned or people around you. But then I also actually sat down and thought to myself, what is it that I love? I love things that look good. I love people that look good. I love looking nice. And that's where the sense of fashion and design came from. Now, funny thing is, after my Form 6, my mom actually even picked forms from a tailoring institution for me to join, and I refused. Because deep within me that time, I was thinking, I want campus, I want campus. Yeah. I didn't feel I wanted tailor. I didn't see it coming. Yeah, and I later on now, years later, here I am, tailor. Yeah. And my mom keeps saying, only if you had actually started then. And deep within me, I'm saying, Mommy, okay, that is past, Here I am now. This is today. So you may need to sit down, think of what is it that I love? What makes me happy? For me, because I love looking good and people that look good and things that look nice, I love things that look nice to the smallest thing. I'll enter a supermarket and there is a nice pen, and I'll want that pen because it looks nice. Yeah. Not even before I try how it writes, but the look. So I think it's what is it within you that really drives you, But again, like you said, sometimes not all of us have the skill of using our hands. So it can be, in my accounting world, what is it that I'm very passionate about? Is it taxation? Then master all those tax laws and get out of that shell and do the taxation. Yeah.
I think you've also mentioned something that I find very interesting. Because sometimes we do something, you do it, so for you it's normal. Like it's normal. Yeah. It's not a big deal. Like you can cook here, so what? You can do here, like so what? Like it's not a big deal. So sometimes it takes an external force to actually tell you, by the way, you're very good at this and you can actually profit out of it. Like it happened for you. I mean, you were always doing it until you had someone dared you. As a financial analyst, I'm very sure you're familiar with SWOT analysis, even really in your day-to-day work life. Is that something that even we need to do on a personal level? just to know ourselves better?
Definitely. Self awareness is very important. But I would say, it's interesting. I have a Facebook picture in which I'm performing for a show and I'm playing the keyboard, and I have this huge grin on my face, and the caption that I thought of is, find the thing that makes you smile while you do it, and then do that. There's nothing that I love more than walking into a shop or a bank or just any office and finding someone that truly loves what they are doing, because the contrast is finding someone that you can tell is not happy where they are, and they actually make you feel it. You can tell it that just you walking in, it's like you've disturbed their whole day. It's like you've done some sort of crime. So you should definitely recognize the things you do that give you joy, and then just do that. Follow that.
All right, Sarah, last words to our viewers.
Last words. I would say, if you're out there and there is something you want to start, find what it is that you love most. I think one of the greatest mistakes we've made is wanting to earn money, to make money, and trying out different things. Economy B, that is very true, I agree with you. But you see, Doreen, I can't go and start singing to make money, because I'm not gifted with a voice.
To save your life.
No, I'm not gifted to sing. So most of the times, actually what happens is, there is money in land. Let me go and see if I can actually go into real estate. But you don't have the passion and the zeal. Most likely that business will flow.
Yeah.
But something that you are passionate about, trust me, if you put in your energy, it grows slowly by slowly. I mean, when you're starting, it's not the same. But I would get 20,000 for just styling someone's hair, and for me that was satisfying, because it is fuel from town to home. Back then, not now with the fuel prices. But now you get a bride and they're willing to give you like 300,000 to do the hair. I mean, but I wasn't at that point last year in January. This is a year later. But also it's something that I get excited to do. So like you said, it's very exciting to find someone that is passionate with what they are doing, and you feel the service, the impact of their service. That's very, very key. So it's my prayer that people who are viewing, that could be their take.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Doreen.
Crown the show.
Self-skilling, it's very important, and I would encourage our viewers to look around your community and find where you can make an impact, but most especially find the thing that makes you smile while you do it, and do that.
All right, thank you, Moses. And I will leave us with a quote from Jim Rohn that says, formal education will make you a living, while self-education will make you a fortune. Yes, so you went to school, sure, you can make a living. But when you teach yourself, all these extra skills, you're capable of achieving so much more. So break a leg. Catch us next week, every Monday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Flourishing Hub is the show. Come, learn, let's grow together. Have a good night.
With 200 million people aged between 15 and 24, Africa has the youngest population in the world.